Hey there, Mr. Redder here. Welcome back to another episode of r/entitled People Stories. Our first story we'll be reading today. My fiance demands I set up a trust fund for her kids. After that, I dropped my sister's kids off at daycare and made her pay for it. And after that, I Uno reversed a malicious compliance. Now for every thumbs up this video gets, one Karen does not get a trust fund for her kids. Fortunately, we don't have any. Imagine what they'd look like. So please smash that like button and subscribe and turn on notifications for new stories from Reddit every single day. My fiance demands I set up a trust fund for her kids. I'm 46, male. My fiance is 45, female, and my ex-wife is 42. My ex-wife and I are on great terms, and throughout and after our marriage, we've been creating a trust fund for our boys, who are 19 and 16, and they can do what they want with it when they're 24. I have my company that has skyrocketed since I started it over 25 years ago due to the need for it in the technological world, and it is branched throughout the US, so our boys and my ex-wife have been very well off, and they'll all be taken care of if I pass since I don't plan on changing my will yet. Everything goes to them. Our sons are very much interested in taking over the company, and they're both working part-time in the lower jobs to be able to get a feel for the company. The oldest is currently getting his degree, while my youngest is working hard in private school. Now my fiance also has two boys from her last marriage, who are 20 and 18, and she has never been on good terms with her ex. She was only married to him for about 4 years and then became a single mother working various jobs, and her boys usually stayed with her mom. We got engaged about 3 years ago, and lockdown came and pushed the wedding back. Well, her oldest has been having some disagreements with the law and dropped out of community college and is currently working part-time at a store. And her youngest has been really struggling with school since lockdown and seems to be on something. My oldest son has recently been staying at our guest house for the last 3 days and has been telling great stories of his uni and how much he enjoys his classes and experience, and he can't wait to start working side by side with me. After he went to bed for the night, my fiance pulled me aside and asked if I could create a fund for her boys like I have for mine. I told her no, that I posted bail for her oldest, and he doesn't even seem to have a plan for his life. And her youngest said he was never going to college because he hates school and he's going to be a Marine. She got upset with me, saying that she wasn't able to provide for them like I have for my boys, and they were given different tools for success and it wasn't fair, that they'll be my stepsons and I need to step up to the plate. I told her they're adults now, and they're more than welcome to get a job at my company and we can go from there. But she got even more upset and told me I was a jerk for not taking care of them and hasn't talked to me since. So Reddit, am I the jerk? Edit. I don't plan on changing my will until I'm married, then I'll add my fiance. She has also signed a prenup too. Yes, prenup and will are both ironclad and bulletproof. They've been reviewed countless times by 3 different attorneys, multiple paralegals, and other workers too. Also, I met her sons for the first time when we were dating for 8 months, and that was a very quick meet and greet lunch. Her kids lived with their grandma throughout the rest of our relationship and even during our engagement. I've only met them a few other times that I could spare because I was very busy then with work and my own sons' lives, and then lockdown hit and things just got worse. So maybe seeing them 6 times total, and those were usually just a quick hello or a dinner here and there. I had no part in raising them, just helping on bail because their mom couldn't afford it and the tuition. Her youngest son living with us is the most time I've ever seen him, and it's barely been a year at most. Her eldest lived with us for a month or 2 before she kicked him out. Edit 2. So my fiance, now life partner / girlfriend, and I have had a discussion and we're going to couples counseling now, and I've made the choice that we are not getting married anymore. We will be life partners, but nothing legally binding. She was very upset as she really wanted to be married, but she respected my decision. Also, we have also agreed that her son's welfare are her own personal responsibility, and I will split the cost with her on half of whatever she wants to help them with financially. She has her own job and doesn't want to leave it. But if they want to work for the company, then that's a different discussion with both parties. Thank you all for your advice. Not the jerk. I ain't saying she a gold digger. But in all seriousness, if they get their crap together, help them with school or with a job in the company, but no need for a trust fund. That free money with no accountability for adults you owe nothing to. This is my thought process too. Helping with the cost of tuition or assisting in obtaining a low-level position is one thing. A trust fund is another. Not the jerk. I wouldn't necessarily say gold digger, but asking a lot for sure. Then getting upset when OP says no made her look even worse. Both of her kids are adults and seem to be behind a bit in life, but a job at the company sounds like a good compromise. OP is reacting and responding appropriately in this situation. Not the jerk. You're not even married yet. Make certain your prenup is valid. She might be a gold digger. Do not count on your kids getting money if she is executor. OP. My sister is my executor, and if something happens to her, then my oldest son is the backup. Well, what do you think? Should OP set up a trust fund for his fiance's sons or not? Please let us know. Nothing better than free money from a rich guy who marries your mom. I dropped my sister's kids off at a daycare and made her pay for it. I'm 19, female, and my sister, who's 25, asked me to babysit for her. Her kids are 4 and 6, so that she could go to a friend's party. I told her I can't do that today. I had an exam that I had to be at college. I can follow some classes online and have occasionally babysat while listening to lectures. The day for which she needed a babysitter came. I answered the door in the morning and the kids were on my doorstep and my sister was driving off. She just left them with me after I said I couldn't stay home that day. I called a friend that owns a small daycare. She told me I could drop them off there. Thank goodness. I gave her my sister's contact info and told her to keep me updated, and I texted my sister about what happened and gave her the address and the phone number. I picked the kids up from daycare since my sister wasn't answering her phone and fed them. She picked them up at 9 p.m. and was absolutely livid that I left them with a stranger, that it was irresponsible, that something could have happened, etc. I told her that she knew I couldn't babysit that day and that she could have picked them up if she wasn't comfortable with that since I texted her the address. She told me I should have just skipped the exam and retaken it later. I thought this was a reasonable thing to do. When someone leaves kids on your doorstep without warning and you can't take care of them, but my parents are on her side. My mom told me my sister already has so much on her plate and that I should help out when I can. I guess babysitting at least one day a week for free isn't good enough. Am I the jerk? Edit. She and her friends went to an escape room or something. It wasn't a regular party. My parents weren't home that day to babysit, and you can retake exams here, but it's a hassle, and it means that if I fail, I can't retake it, just to clear some things up. I'm sorry if this post seemed obvious. Having both my sister and both my parents say that I was in the wrong made me doubt myself. Not the jerk. You should text her. Do not leave your kids on my doorstep unless you've made prior arrangements with me and I have agreed to watch them. The arrangements and consent need to be in writing via text. If you do this again, I will call the authorities instead of a daycare and I will show them that I have made all of this clear to you. I love my nibblings very much, but they are your responsibility. I am not your co-parent. This. Forget your sister and mother for making you feel like her choices are your responsibility whatsoever, not the jerk. Yes, next time drop the kids off at your mother's. If she thinks your sister's actions were fair, she shouldn't have a problem when you do it to her. Their mom went to a party. Bring the kids back to their mom at the party. Hand them to her and drive off. The nerve of that lady. How did she even know OP was still home to take the kids? Tell your mother that a party is not a responsibility. Tests, good grades, work, all responsibilities. She knew what she did was wrong. Your sister is lucky. When someone leaves kids on your doorstep without warning after you've explicitly said you couldn't take care of them, you might otherwise call the police or authorities. Tell her this is your other option and you'll do that next time. Oh, and stop watching her kids for her until or unless she learns to respect you. Maybe not even then. I can't get over the part about her just driving off and then not accepting your calls too. What if you were already gone for the day? Now she's left the 4 and the 6-year-old outside alone for over 12 hours. What was she thinking? Not the jerk times 1,000. I Uno reversed a malicious compliance. This happened years ago when I used to work at an office as a front desk one summer during college. A video I saw today just reminded me of the incident. One day, this lady came in to pay a fine. She was very rude and angry about her fine. I don't know the particulars because all I did was work the front desk. She decided to try a little malicious compliance. Her fine was about $250 and she said she was going to be paying in quarters. I knew I had to comply since we're supposed to accept any legal tender. I took the bags from her, but realized that she had unrolled every single roll of quarters. She said that since we want to waste her time with a stupid fine, she will also waste our time. I tried to explain and beg her not to do this to me, since I had nothing to do with her fine. She didn't care and said that we're all evil. She smirked and said, "One band, one sound." I realized that there was no reasoning with her. I was furious, but I began counting one by one. We were interrupted by multiple phone calls and customers, so I had to restart a few times. She started to realize how long this would really take. She tried to stack the quarters to help me count faster, but I told her that it was my job, that I couldn't just take her word for it that the stacks were correct, so I had to do it one by one like she asked for. 2 others came, paid, and left while she was still standing there. She started getting mad, saying that I was wasting her time on purpose. I told her that we don't have a coin counter, so this is how long it would take. She threatened to call the police. I told her to go ahead, that I'll have to restart when the police get here so I can be sure to get an accurate count. After someone else came and left, she finally snapped. She whipped out her credit card and paid. As she was leaving, she snatched one of the bags off the counter, but the handle gave way, spilling all the coins all over the floor. She scooped up what she could, but left a good chunk. I told her she was littering, and she lost it on me. I got a broom and swept up the coins. There were about 192 quarters on the floor. When I was leaving work, I found some more in the parking lot. It wasn't a whole lot of money, but for a broke college student, it was great. Am I the jerk for telling my boyfriend he ruined our date? I, female 21, and my boyfriend, male 23, of 5 years, went to our favorite restaurant a few weeks ago. The meal was great, and we both really enjoyed ourselves. It was perfect, a completely perfect dinner. I paid the $60 check, and we went out to the parking lot to the car. I live in a huge college town, along with that Saturday night being a senior ball, so the town was busy. We get back to the car, and the cars surrounding. It was parked exactly the same as they were when we went in. There were cars to each side of his car, along with a truck parallel parked behind him, at least 2 car lengths away. In front of him was the wall of the restaurant, and behind him was the roadway and the parking lot, then the parallel parked truck at a distance to clarify. He starts to back out of the space, and after a few tries, he says he can't do it. I say instantly I can spot him so he can get out. He says no, and that it won't help him because the truck behind him wasn't there when we pulled into the spot, and he was scared of hitting it. It was there when we pulled into the spot. He also added he doesn't want others to see me spotting him like he can't handle his vehicle. I say okay, I'll go into the restaurant and find the owner of one of the cars and ask if there was any way they could move it so that he can get out. Didn't want to, but it was the only choice. He says no and kind of flips out, throwing his hat and sunglasses into the dash in frustration and also flooring it as if he's going to hit the building, then slamming on the brake before he does. He calls his parents, screaming about not being able to get out of the spot, and even locked my door when I tried to get out of the vehicle to go get someone else to help spot him. Also, when he is on the phone, the owner of one of the neighboring cars comes outside. I try to tell him that we can talk to her, but he ignored me and kept complaining to his parents how there was no way we were getting out of the spot. The owner of the neighboring car gets in another car and leaves while my boyfriend gets off the phone and says, "Guess we're stuck." The screaming and me begging him to just let me spot him continues for 20 minutes, and he makes a few jabs that I don't have a license, so I wouldn't understand how he feels. At that point, I was really upset and in tears. I had just taken him out to dinner and spent a pretty good amount of money for him to act like this. Finally, he lets me out of the car to spot him, and within 2 minutes, we're out of the spot. Later that night, I told him that he ruined the night and the dinner I paid for absolutely no reason. I also added that he always has to find a way to destroy any date or thing in general that I want to do just because it's not something he picks. He said what happened was my fault because I should not have spoken to him because it made him feel more frustrated when he was trying to find a solution to the problem. Am I the jerk here? Not the jerk. Red flags. He locked you in a car because he was mad? This is absurd. Then he gaslights you and says that it's your fault? Get out of here. You even paid. He had one job. Don't be a jerk. He sounds controlling and manipulative. Yeah, your boyfriend was gaslighting. Dump him and find a mature man. Yeah, one that doesn't call mommy because he doesn't know how to drive. I'm very unclear on how his finding a solution involved him calling his mommy and daddy instead of just letting you spot him or just backing the car out however slowly it took him. Like, seriously, did he want his parents to drive to the restaurant and do it for him? Not the jerk. Not the jerk. As I was reading this, I was thinking of my ex. He was exactly the same. You'd essentially have to beg him to do anything other than his own plans. Then it's like he'd deliberately sabotage it in some way. He also couldn't handle small frustrations and would completely overreact. He was completely obsessed with appearing like the man, yet was happy to take my money, as he never had any and I did. Yet he gave me pretty much nothing but angst in return. What happened there is terrible. You're absolutely not the jerk. He has a massive issue with his own anger management, self-esteem, and it also seems like he has little to no respect for you. Use this as a waving red flag warning. You are 21 and can still exit this crap show unscathed. I waited till I was 23 and I had bought a house with my ex. I wish I had gone sooner. Never settled to be with someone who treats you like dirt. Am I the jerk for not wanting to teach my boyfriend how to do chores? Just as title says, I'm 20, female, and my boyfriend, 23, male, has always lived at home where his mom did most of the chores. He moved in with me a few weeks ago and asked me to help him learn how to do certain things. It started with cooking. I figured that would be one of the most useful skills for him to know. So every night when I'm cooking, he helped a bit, with me explaining why and how I do things. That has been the first 2 weeks or so. This week I told him to try himself without help. I found some easy recipes of foods that he likes and left him to try things out. Every single night this week, I've had to do a big part of the cooking because he doesn't know how to cut this, doesn't know how to do this, or it tastes better when you do it. I'm tired of it, and that's just cooking. I've been doing almost all of the other chores myself too. So I told him I'm done, that he'll do his own laundry, cook every other day, and do the dishes on the days he doesn't cook, that he can ask certain things, but only if he can't find the answer himself, and I won't show him or do it for him. He got upset because relationships are about helping each other, but I feel like he doesn't want to learn and just pushes things off onto me. I've shown him how to make French toast twice, but he still claims he doesn't know how to do it. I even wrote down the recipe. I just want him to put in some effort instead of expecting me to do it all. I've talked this over with my mom, and she said I should be grateful he's even asking to learn. My boyfriend thinks I don't want to help him with anything. I think he's a grown man and shouldn't need his hand held the entire way, especially with simple stuff. Am I the jerk? Edited. It's not just cooking, it's also things like vacuuming and doing dishes, which is why I don't think it's a lack of confidence or not knowing how to do things. He's seen me vacuum. I've explained how to. He still wants me to show him. Not the jerk. This is weaponized incompetence. OP. Oh, I didn't know there was a term for it. I guess I have some reading to do now. Send him back to his mommy. He's an underbaked cookie. I don't think more time with mommy will help. Quite the opposite, in fact. He needs to live on his own for a while first, without taking laundry to mommy's every week. Right now, that's not OP's problem. She just needs to get him out of her house. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or her boyfriend? Please let us know. This dude doesn't know how to vacuum? Where did you find him? Am I the jerk for telling my sister to stop whispering to her boyfriend during a family movie night? My little sister, who's 20, has been dating this guy, who's 22, for a little over a year now. He became completely blind at the age of 16 after an accident. He's pretty well adjusted to his new way of living by now. Yesterday night, we had a family get-together at our parents' house, had dinner, played some board games, chatted, things like that. Watching a movie was also on the checklist. We play the movie. Immediately after it started, my sister started describing things to her boyfriend, how the people and environment looked, etc. It annoyed me, 26 female, because even though they were whispering, I could still hear them, and it disturbed my immersion. I kept quiet for a while, but I ended up telling them to please be quiet, because other people like quietness during a movie. They shut up, but after the movie ended, my sister pulled me aside and started calling me names, telling me how that was super rude, that she never thought I'd act like that, etc. I told her that I am in no way inappropriate, but it's annoying to hear constant noise during a movie, and this would apply to everyone. She said she won't talk to me anymore unless I apologize to her and her boyfriend. I would, but I don't understand what I did wrong. I believe that when you're hanging out with others, you should be courteous and fit in with the people there. You're the jerk. How else was he supposed to know what was happening in the movie? Your comments for sure probably embarrassed and hurt him, even if he has grown accustomed to living without sight. I'm sure he's aware it can be frustrating to others, and he's probably more frustrated than anyone else. But him being included is more important than your immersion. It's just a movie. What I'm wondering is, why would they choose activities not suited for blind people if they knew a blind person would attend? Definitely, you're the jerk. I agree with you partially. OP is definitely the jerk. But having a movie night with a blind person there isn't necessarily a bad thing. Plenty of blind people love watching movies. I have many blind family members, including both of my parents, and loads of them enjoy films and TV. I've been to movie night events that have been organized by and for blind people. Many tend to avoid certain film genres. For example, a lot of action movies where the majority of what's going on is visual, or films in foreign languages without dubbing, can be really difficult or impossible to follow. Audio-described movies are available too, increasingly so on Netflix and stuff, which is fantastic. It's an audio track that runs alongside the movie and basically does what OP's sister was doing. In the quiet moments between dialogue, it will give a description of what the character looks like, how they're moving, facial expressions, what's happening in the background, what the scene looks like, etc. When we hang out, one of my blind friends will run the movie on his phone with audio description turned on and listen to that with one headphone in. We make sure that the film we put on is one he can follow, even if audio description isn't available. Am I the jerk for posting a video of kids stealing from my garage to a neighborhood app? So I recently had some middle school age kids go into my garage and take snacks off of a shelf. For some context, I have 4 kids who are ages 20, 15, 8, and 5. My oldest daughters usually wait for their younger sisters to get off the school bus. You cannot see the bus stop from our front door because it's set back, so they wait in the garage. The elementary school and middle school release at the same time, so there are multiple buses dropping off various aged kids. This day, my 15-year-old was waiting in the garage and decided to go inside and use the bathroom. At 4:05, 3 middle school kids approached my garage and 2 others stood in the street in front of my home. 2 of the 3 boys ran into my garage and ran out about 25 seconds later with snack food, and all 5 kids took off running down the street. My older daughter is seen on the camera about 2 minutes later, and my younger kids get off the school bus at 4:09. I get home from work at 4:12 and my garage is closed. At about 5 o'clock, my husband calls me to ask who the kids in our garage were. I review the camera and notice that the kid who waited outside of my garage lives at the end of my street. I go outside and see that him and one of the kids who entered my garage are playing basketball in the street. I approach them and ask why they were in my garage. The kid who entered my garage said, "I wasn't." I told him that it was on my security camera. He said it wasn't him. I reminded him that he was wearing the same clothes. He tells me, "Call the police then, jerk," and walks away. I return to the house at the end of my street where the mother is home to speak to her, ask her if her kid can point me in the direction of the homes of the other kids so I can speak to their parents. Her son says he doesn't know who they were, and she tells me she can't help me. So I post the video on a neighborhood app asking if anyone knows who the kids are, because I would like to speak to their parents. Many people on the app are upset that I posted the video and are saying that I'm starting a witch hunt over snacks. People have commented that I only posted it because they weren't the same color as I am, and that I have blown this out of proportion. Am I the jerk? Not the jerk. If I understand correctly that you only posted on your local neighborhood app, people upset probably know the kids or are related to them. It takes a community to raise a society, and middle school kids are old enough to know that this isn't cute or just kids being kids. Am I the jerk for ruining my friend's dinner party because I didn't like the food? Excuse my English, as it's not my first language. Some backstory. I, male 27, am a picky eater. Always have been, maybe due to my clinically diagnosed ADHD. Growing up, my mom did her best to cater for my needs. I like a lot of her things, but I hate some textures and some methods of cooking. So since I was 13, she taught me how to cook for myself, and at 16, I was fully independent when it came to food. Now to the main issue. My friend, 26, male, let's call him C, is dating this girl for about 6 years now. She is a chef, and C is boastful about her culinary skills, and always says she can make a picky eater like you eat everything. I saw what she usually makes, and it does look nice, but my problem boils down to texture issues. Last week, C had the brilliant idea to invite me and my significant other, plus 2 other couples, to his dinner party at their house. I immediately shut down the invitation because I knew how it would end. He insisted, but I assured him that I would be uncomfortable and he would put me in a tough spot. He didn't seem to budge, so I obliged. But first, I told him that if I didn't like the food, it would be his problem to deal with. 2 days ago, the day of the party happened. We arrived earlier. I asked first thing for what they were going to serve, but the girlfriend, the chef, told me it would be best to keep it a surprise. I had a terrible gut feeling, but my wife said it would be all right. Cue to the actual party. The entries were good. The main dish was painful to get through because it had a lot of caramelized onion, but the dessert was catastrophic. It had some weird odor and taste to it, some fruit I didn't recognize, and the first spoon made me gag, so I excused myself to the bathroom. When I got back after 5 minutes, the chef was crying and my wife was consoling her. Apparently, my reaction offended her. I immediately apologized without thinking much, but C said the party was over. When we got home, my wife said I should have powdered through it and shouldn't have embarrassed her. I said sorry, but that was a reflex and I couldn't control it. We didn't talk much about it after that. Yesterday, I met my friend again. We're also coworkers, and he told me that I am the jerk for how I acted and I should stop acting like a kid. I told him that I wouldn't force myself to change to please others. I have no problem apologizing and putting the issue behind us, but I don't feel like it would be genuine because I don't feel like I was in the wrong. So, am I the jerk here, and do I have to try to change? What is the best course of action? Edit for things I want to add and clarify. 1. My parents never enabled my behavior. They helped me to like the majority of dishes, but some of them were lost causes. 2. I'm now aware that my case is special, and I should have held my stance, and next time there's a similar situation, I will be more careful on how to react and be mindful of my conduct. 3. I don't know the extent the chef knew about my palate. 4. I will ask both my friend and his girlfriend to meet together to clear the air, because, in hindsight, my reaction was not the appropriate one, and I hope she would understand that her cooking was not the problem. Not the jerk. You made it clear you have some texture issues with food. You can't help your reactions. That's like blaming someone for a sneeze. If anything, you're owed an apology for forcing you into an awkward situation. You apologized, which was kind, for upsetting the hostess. Your significant other and friends are rude jerks to demand you change how you process the world. Not the jerk. A chef that really wanted to impress a picky eater would have asked what flavors and textures you prefer. Maybe I'm sensitive because I have picky eaters in my family, but I know most people can't control their gag reflex. It's unfortunate, but not deliberately cruel. You do have the option of not eating with them again. It may now be your only option, and that's probably for the best. Sorry, but I have to disagree and will probably be downvoted into oblivion, but you're the jerk. What a respectful, courteous adult would have done is to politely decline dessert if you thought you may have issues with it. People decline dessert all the time. You only needed to say something to the effect that you are absolutely stuffed after the delicious dinner and had no room for dessert, but it looks fabulous, and then change the topic. This is what a polite and respectful adult guest does. Instead, you made it all about you and your food issues and probably made the chef feel absolutely terrible. Well, what do you think? Is OP the jerk or not? Please let us know. I actually got hungry when we read about the caramelized onions. Yes. Please tip your own server. This was Valentine's Day a few years ago, and I still think about it. It was a higher-end Italian place, and we were always booked on Valentine's Day. We are a bring-your-own-beer place also, which will come into play. We had a guy come in with his girlfriend. The guy was familiar because he worked in the law office near us, and he would get lunch at takeout. I was serving him, and he said he forgot a bottle of wine and asked if we had any. We had leftovers from a banquet party, so I said I could make something work for you. I went to get it. My coworker Shane overheard, so he got the bottle for me to save time since we were all so busy and gave it to me near our table. I thanked him, went to my table, and gave it to the customer. They said thank you. The bottle of wine was on the house. At the end of the night, I ask how everything was, and the guy asks how he can tip Shane out instead of me since he got him the bottle of wine. I don't think he understood why it took a few seconds to respond. Yes, Shane handed me the bottle of wine, but at the end of the day, I was your server that was giving you the free bottle. My other servers were so upset on my behalf. They have never heard anything like that and thought it was demeaning. I think the guy's girlfriend was confused too. Shane told me I should have told him to tip me extra on my card and I would give it to Shane, but Shane would have expected me to keep it all. Would love to know if anything like this has ever happened to anyone else. Very weird. Would I be the jerk for having a Star Wars themed wedding? My fiance, 26 female, and I, 27 male, recently got engaged on Valentine's Day 2021. We're hoping to get married in the next 2 years, so almost every conversation we have at the moment is about wedding planning. Star Wars has been a huge influence on my life ever since I was a kid. I've watched all the movies more times than I could possibly count, and it's something nearly all of my family and friends enjoy too. So when I was thinking of wedding planning ideas, it seemed obvious that we should be doing something Star Wars related. I've been brainstorming ideas, and I have some really great themed ideas. For example, blue milk drinks to serve our guests, hiring stormtroopers to party and dance, Jedi robes for all of my groomsmen, playing Across the Stars for the first dance. While I have more typically nerdy interests, my fiance isn't really interested in most movies or games. She's very much a typical girly girl and the type of person who has been planning her wedding since she was very young. She has some very specific ideas about what our wedding should look like, much more formal and glamorous than I'd imagined, and her vision definitely doesn't include lightsabers. The problem is that my fiance really doesn't want anything Star Wars related at our wedding at all. All of my suggestions so far have been shot down without further discussion. One solution I suggested was that we could plan half the wedding, like she handles the ceremony and I plan the reception. That way we could both have what we want. However, my fiance says that plan would make me the jerk because even having a Star Wars themed reception would be an embarrassment in front of everyone we know. From my perspective, this is my wedding too, and I should get to decide at least half of the day. While money isn't much of an issue, we share finances, so I'm paying enough to get a say too. Am I the jerk for wanting a Star Wars themed wedding, even though my fiance really doesn't? Support our channel by joining as a member today, and we'll give you a shout out in our next video. Or come watch this video next. You won't believe what Karen does in that one.